My name is Rouzbeh Sarrafieh. I've been introduced a couple times now, thanks to Jacob. Much appreciated. Let me get my slides up. All right. I titled it, You Get What You Give. That's my handle in most all places. I help with js.la, so I threw that up there, and let's begin. I'm very excited to be here. I've been helping for the better part of this year, and it's super fun to see all the people that come, meet all the new folks, and talk to the speakers, and go to drinks afterwards. So I'm just super thankful to be able to give a talk finally and contribute a little bit more. I'm here to tell you a little story about how I got into open source contribution. So everyone in here, I'd venture to say, uses open source. Raise your hand if you knowingly use it. Right, all right, most of you, right? That's what I thought. Now, I'm sure everyone that uses it would love to contribute and give back and start helping these projects out. These are some popular open source projects. So everyone would like to help out. This is the story of how I started helping out. So this was the ecosystem of front-end development when I was 2015-ish, doing front-end development using jQuery and WordPress and cruising along, enjoying, getting paid fairly well to do, make things pretty and fit in boxes and work the same in various browsers. But, there came a time where I sort of thought to myself, I'm sure many of you have, where, I can't keep doing this forever. Like, what's next? What's next for Rouzbeh? I thought about it, and, I've been using jQuery. That's open source. Everything, WordPress, everything's on Linux. So I was like, all right, let's see if I can sort of get into an open source project and see what's out there and how to, So yeah, forgot that. They want you to know all the things, right? I'm not gonna know all that stuff. So pretty soon I was like, burn all the things. That was definitely me more than once in my life. So these are the folks that I follow on Twitter and around. That was a slightly fast transition, but anyways, we'll continue. So they're like gods, right? Like John Rustigliano, Yehuda Katz, these open source like bandits. They just contribute hard. How can I help on a project that they help with or they maintain? It's a little intimidating, right? I'm just this like scrub front-end developer, half the people think I'm not even a real programmer. Like, it is what it is. But I still thought I can do something. I can contribute some way. Like, it's free work. Who's gonna turn down free work? I'm gonna go to the next slide. But yeah, that's me. That's how I felt. Looking at that graph, I have no idea what I'm doing. There's all these projects with massive code bases. Where do you even begin? Like, if I looked at the core of jQuery back then, I'd have been lost. But this is what people thought I did. I mentioned that. We're moving on. Wow. Looks like I forgot how to use slides.com. That is not true. So anyways, you have to sort of suck at something to be good at it, to start somewhere and be good, right? These are just mainly pictures anyway. We'll get through them. I'll try and line up the pictures. It doesn't seem to work, but whatever. So I started looking around and, how do I get in touch with these people? And it was Twitter. Twitter may be a dumpster fire, and my jokes will be much more lackluster as these slides come in out of order. But what can you do? Roll with it. So yeah, Twitter's rough to look at, but I actually subscribed to someone else's block list, and it's been a lot nicer ever since. And these folks still, converse. There's still a lot of discussion on Twitter about open source projects, what each project lacks, how you can help improve, and you're getting this information from these godlike figures I had mentioned before. So, I started there, and then I play this game, Rocket League, and it happened to be that, I think Justin had mentioned him too, but the wonderful wizard of Webpack, Sean Larkin, also plays this game, and I ended up playing with him for a little while, and it eventually ended up talking about development, and I started asking him, how can I help? Webpack seems cool, and it's an important tool that seems that it's on the upswing. This was late 2015. React was being released, and it was Webpackifying things. So then I went to their GitHub, and I was viewing current issues, closed pull requests. I immediately went to the code base and was just like, no, this is not for me. This is too much. It's like 4 guys from some Scandinavian countries that built this project that kicks ass, and I'm not messing with that. So went to their GitHub and just checked out their issues, see what the discussion's like, look at the closed pull requests, look at the open issues, and then Sean pointed me in the direction of the contribution guide, which was very organized. This was right when the Webpack 2 documentation was sort of coming out. Some time had passed in 2015, it was 2016, whatever. And a lot of the complaints that I saw on Twitter and on various parts of the internet were, Webpack 1 sucks, it does things I don't want it to, I don't understand it, the documentation is terrible, just all these things. So this is like what people viewed Webpack as at the time. I hate it, why? Yeah. There was even a website called webpack.wtf that was just quotes of people hating on Webpack. Yeah, like what? That's insane. Nerds, what configuring Webpack feels like, how to get started on a JavaScript project in 2017. And these are recent ones, right? So people still have this viewpoint towards Webpack, whatever, should you use it? Yeah, do you want impossible errors, whatever? But this is also what made me think that Webpack was the right project to start helping with. It's pretty young, it's super popular. I like what it promises. I would like to know how to use it better. Everyone's using it, everyone hates it. It sounds like an important skill to have. So, sorry, I'm seeing this too, and it's just too funny for me. So then, this is how I started contributing. I checked out their guide. Once I gathered the courage, I started looking at their open issues and started doing work. At first, it was just, given that I had been speaking with one of the core members and I learned that the original authors were, I think, Finnish, Swedish, whatever, not native English speakers, basically. I thought I could help with the documentation, and their English may be bad. People already complain about the docs. Maybe I'll go through and make some grammatical, spelling fixes, structural things, try and help people understand it better as I try and learn and understand it myself. That worked out pretty well. I started submitting pull requests. They were getting accepted. It helped gain confidence in what I was doing because I was basically, helping the documentation for a tool that is like one of the, fastest rising tools in the JS world. And my little GitHub avatars on the bottom of a bunch of these documentation pages, which was a very nice touch that they did on their docs that I haven't seen much, where it, attributes the people that help. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. That gave me the confidence to continue. Before I knew it, one of the original folks, Sokra, I believe his name is, he started tweeting out a list of people that contribute to Webpack in order of amount of contribution. And I eventually saw my name on one of his tweets and was like, whoa, I didn't feel like I had been doing that much work. But it turns out that I had, I was in the top 10 of the committers to the project, which is pretty wild. So that in itself was exciting and pushed me to go further. And that gave me the confidence to start getting other people on board and helping people. So I know some of you know me from here, but I also help with another group that's for beginners, more all-around languages called Learn, Teach, Code. And so I've always been in like the helping community spirit. So this confidence was awesome. Like I was helping people, get started, what to do, where to go. Yeah, and that was great. Pretty soon, the recognition I got was being noticed, also great. It gave me, like talking points at these meetup events. Yeah, I would go to these things for a long time and just sort of say hi and stand in the corner. But now, like, I had this thing I could talk about and almost do like mini research on my own, right? Like, oh, so do you use Webpack? How do you like it? And like, I wouldn't say I'd help, but people would either shit on the documentation, the tool itself, or tell me to use Rollup. And I'm like, why not both? Whatever. So that was great. It gives you an in to talk to people. It helps you network. It gives you good experience in contributing to a single project with people around the world on a remote team. It helped my Git skills, which I'd say I'm level like 2 still, but overall it was a pretty great experience. And then fast forward to this year, I was recently, last month's js.la was interesting when Curtis spoke about the future of web development with Babel and all that stuff. And it just so happened that on the project I had for work, a coworker had just put the ES 2015 preset on our Babel transpiler. So I fixed it, basically. I mean, fixed it is relative, but yes, I fixed it. And set it up to use the proper things. And that was great. I helped the project. I cut the rebuild times with the hot module reloading by like 2 seconds out of 6. It helped push development faster, less headaches, right? And then that was cool. So that same weekend of the last js.la, so 28 days ago, I saw LeftPad had tweeted, if you haven't contributed to Babel before, Henry Zhu, here's the thing. And I was like, all right, you help me look good at work. I'll help your project with this, menial task, which is, it was, taking one file that got imported over places for error messages, all those sweet error messages you see in your terminal, and putting them into the files and getting rid of that file to reduce some of the code base. And then as I was doing that, it was a Friday night. It was fun at 10 p.m. helping code on this project. I was about 20, 30 minutes into it, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at Twitter to take a break, and I see that he goes on this mini diatribe of like, why can't you have multiple people on an issue or a pull request or a commit or whatever? Something about how Git and GitHub work. But I saw my name in this screenshot and was like, whoa, what did I mess up? So I went and checked it out, and it was just, it was more of a gripe against that, like the GitHub model, single committer to each issue. Which was a little learning experience in itself, right? Because I had only been helping on one project, so I knew of one way to help. But on Babel, you claim an issue, which is different from Webpack, where you just do it, and if you're the first one to do it and do it well, it gets merged in. Like, I thought I had done something wrong by claiming this issue and like whatever, but just the slight contrast in how you help was a good little learning experience for me and working with teams. But this went on, and I was like, oh man, what did I do? And I think Gregor is here too, so I think he gets the shout out right here. But it turns out I just handed it off. Like, I didn't need to do that. Someone else wanted to do it. I didn't mind. I pushed my work up. I said, use it if you want to, or not. This Jeremy, what's his name? Anyways, Jerome, right, Jerome. So he submitted it, and we both got credit somehow because I had commits in the same pull request. So it sort of worked out exactly the way he initially wanted, which is great. I enjoyed that. There's a little bit of panic, but it sort of worked itself out. But having the confidence from helping on Webpack pushed me into helping on Babel. I'm not an expert in JavaScript. I know my way around, but being able to contribute to these projects is like a huge thing for me. So it's pretty cool. So one thing I want everyone to take away from this is you don't have to be an expert in anything to help on any project. You can pick anything that you use, pick anything that you would like to use, a new tool, or even a new language. I've heard of people reading a book on some language. A friend of mine who works at DuckDuckGo on front end, I guess, he learned Perl and he started making pull requests on some DuckDuckGo tools, and then he got hired as a front end dev. And that's pretty cool. But he had just read a book and was like, all right, this is how I'm going to learn it. So it's a great learning experience, whether it's getting into the code base, which is cool because people never know what kind of a project to work on, right? When you're like learning and you think you have a good grasp on things, people just go, just build projects, any projects. Like, it's like, what projects? What do you want me to build? Another to-do list or another, photo feed, false like Instagram type thing? Like, no, that's cool too. If that's for you, that's fine. But that was not what I was into. So this gave me a project to focus on. And like I said, I didn't even contribute to the core of how Webpack works. That's next on my list of things to do with the project. I helped with documentation and helping people understand it better, hopefully. And I have some other tweets, but I'm afraid to even go through the slideshow any further. But seeing tweets where like, yeah, I finally get Webpack. The guide, the intro guide is awesome, and it's like, I helped on that. That's cool. It's good to hear. Or like refactoring, which is what this Babel thing was, right? Like, it may have not been like a huge thing, but someone was pretty stoked that it cut out a file and reduced the code base by 50 or 60 lines. So yeah, you can refactor, you can help with the documentation, you can help with the code if you feel confident enough, or you can just become sort of like a community moderator, like how I started a JavaScript study group for all of 2016 that was every week, but at the time I was not an expert. I just knew the basics and helped people get the basics and push them on their way. These are some other resources to get started. There's first timers only, your first PR Twitter handle, issuehub.io, and you can narrow things down by language, by type. And another thing you can do is, a lot of these projects will have contributing guides, which help me learn how to contribute to a project where you have to run tests, you have to pass the tests before you submit anything, write in a particular code style, whatever. But a lot of projects don't have that. So that could even be like a super easy way in to contributing to a project you like and help them come up with a contribution guide. So, the next thing I would like anyone in here to do is feel free to hit me up on any channel on Slack, the js.la Slack. I think you can join that. It's free. We're always there. Send me a message, and I will do my best to help match you with a project that would be fitting. Luckily, everyone in here likes JavaScript, so I'll hopefully be able to help. And thank you very much for letting me talk, and have a great rest of your night.
All right. Thank you so much, Rouzbeh. I know contributing to open source is a very daunting thing. It actually isn't that bad, though. I would encourage everyone to even if it is, you run into a bug and you're like, oh, this is dumb, they should have this in the documentation. Why not add it to the documentation? I think we're going to do a couple questions for you, Rouzbeh. Some Q&A.
All right. I'm glad I'm out of the limelight.
Oh, we only have one mic.
I can talk loudly.
So I think this is really important, what Rouzbeh is talking about. Actually, give it up for Rouzbeh again. That is awesome. So Rouzbeh did an informal survey before, like how many people use open source. There was a lot of hands, so I couldn't really see. If you don't use open source, can you raise your hand? No. Okay. Nobody doesn't use open source. Okay. How many people contribute to open source? Raise your hand. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm a little curious, but I think I know the answer. Like, if you didn't raise your hand just then, why do you not contribute to open source? And I think Rouzbeh touched on a couple of these points, right? Like, you go in and you're like, oh, fuck, that's the Avengers. Like, I'm gonna help them. Yeah, sure, okay, whatever. I'm a front-end developer and they're doing system tools. Not gonna happen. But I think what Rouzbeh was saying is that's not really the barrier. There's a lot of things that can be done, and you can do it. So if you didn't raise your hand because you think that you don't have anything to contribute, you're wrong. Like, you can, and Rouzbeh showed that. There's a lot of things that you can be doing that help a lot, and not just to, oh, this is a tiny little project. Like, we're talking about Webpack and Babel. Like, they need your help. I mean, or at least they can use your help. And there's a lot of benefits that come from that. If you are looking to make a change in your career and you're sick and tired of doing whiteboard problems, you can just walk in there and be like, yeah, like thousands of people use my code every day. What? I'm not gonna drop the mic because that would be loud. But I think this is really important. I think it's really awesome that Rouzbeh is here telling you about how you can go through those steps. And sorry, this wasn't really a question. Does anybody have a question?
I was waiting. I didn't know where you were going. I just let it ride.
Give it up for David.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, question. What do you, in terms of sweet spot, what's like the good size for contributing to a project? Would you go after a large project or a medium project or a small project?
Right. I mean, I obviously chose a small project in Webpack. No, I mean, I'm just kidding. It's more of I viewed it as more of what type of tasks do they need help with, right? Like, that's why the first thing I did was check out their closed pull requests, their open and closed issues. Some places have massive pull requests. Some places have very small, specific ones. And when I saw that it was, update this guide and make it clearer, like, I was like, yeah, I can totally do that. And that's sort of my approach. So I would say help on a project that you want to be using, because then when you learn that better, that also helps your professional career. And yeah.
Any other questions?
I recently started contributing to a few open source things, but and I've gotten over that. Like, your talk was great because it just felt like everything that I experienced. It's just like, get over like the preconception. But now my biggest problem is like, where do you find the time? And like, how do you, Like, do you have any tips for like carving out time, basically?
Yeah. Yes, time is a factor. I myself have sort of dropped off a little bit, but that's because of I just had my first daughter. So obviously for a while, thank you. No, that's not. No, I'm just saying like for a little bit, I know I'm going to be like out of that game. I have a full-time job. It's hard. I mean, I still do here and there. The way I find the time is I just get really good at trying to put the baby to sleep because the baby needs a lot of sleep, and I'll be there to help for that. And then in that 20 to 60 minutes, I'll just start chipping away at something that looks important and I can't help with. So that's when I find it. Or when there's like a downtime at work, like I work remotely, so there's lots of downtimes. Someone resets our GitLab server, I think 5 times a day. So, you know, just wherever you can. That's why it's the size of the contribution that's important to me. Yeah.
Give it up for Rouzbeh again. That was awesome.
All right.